In 1999, skating as a sport was experiencing a huge resurgence after it slowed down a bit in the early and mid-1990s. For a long time, it was a sport that wasn't super popular with street culture, but towards the late 1990s, you had huge names like Bam Margera and Bob Burnquist that helped bring skate culture to the mainstream. Tony Hawk at that time wasn't known as a street skater, he was a pro skater, and despite this game being called Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, it has a lot of roots in street skating as well as street skating culture. Earlier in 1999, Neversoft got hard to work at creating a skating game to strike while the iron was hot, as skating was seeing a rise again. Simultaneously, DMA Design, which later became Rockstar, was partnering with skating magazine Thrasher to create their own skating game, Thrasher's Skate and Destroy. While they both have a similarity in being skating games, Skate and Destroy was much more of a realistic take on the sport, while Pro Skater was an arcadey pick-up-and-play experience, which ultimately became much more popular. Neversoft got Tony Hawk to plaster his name all over it, which ended up really helping the game, because just a couple of months before the release, Tony Hawk landed the 900 for the first time ever. Of course, the Tony Hawk line of skateboarding games is a very long series with many ups and downs, but for this video, I'm going to focus on the first game and see if it still holds up. Just so that it's known, this is far from my first time playing this game. No, I'm not very good at it, but unfortunately I'm unable to do a completely blind playthrough of this game and give my real first thoughts. Before getting into the main levels of the game, I do need to talk about how the game is structured. So first of all, each level has 5 tapes that you need to complete, and the tapes really just consist of easy missions that you jump into the level and complete. One of them is finding the letters in the word skate, so S-K-A-T-E. You have to just find them scattered around the map at different areas. Another one of the challenges in this game is trying to figure out where you need to go to smash 5 boxes or grind 5 lunch tables, but it's all pretty simple throughout the entire game. 2 of the 5 tapes are just scores, so one of them's a high score and then one of them's a pro score. And then the final tape in each level is just a secret tape that's a little bit difficult to attain, but you can find it around the map pretty easily. I think the hard part is really trying to figure out how you get to it. There's a whole bunch of different skaters to play as in this game, but I decided to just go with Tony Hawk because if I'm ever going to do this as a series, I kind of want to keep it consistent with who I'm playing as, so I'm just going to go with Tony Hawk throughout this whole series if it becomes one. There are some very small customization features which are pretty cool for its time, but nothing too spectacular. Other than some of the challenges in the customization features, the main gameplay really just consists of doing skate tricks. I mean, I don't know what else you would think that this game has, but yeah. The controls are very simple. It's pretty much just you press triangle to grind, you press circle to do grab tricks, and you press square and a different direction to do flip tricks. And then X will just give you a straight up ollie. The controls are simple, but they are pretty intuitive. Honestly, it is pretty easy to pick up and play even if you've never touched the game before. Anyways, now that you know some of the basics, let's go ahead and get started with talking about the first level. Warehouse. Man, Warehouse is such a classic stage for the series. Of course, since I'm not playing it for the first time, the sort of tutorial aspects are a bit lost on me, but it's still very classic and still pretty solid. First thing I want to note about the game feel is that it is a little bit clunky and even sluggish, and oh boy, I can feel the lack of a manual feature that would later come on in the second game. I was able to get all of the tapes without much effort. I mean, really, it's not meant to be anything super difficult. It's pretty simple, but it's very effective. School. School is where the game actually feels like it gets to the game part. The design of the level is honestly genius. Starting you on top of a sun shield thingy allows you to get some airtime and really try out some tricks you can perform in the air, as well as connecting them with the grind. Speaking of grinds and connecting, pretty much the entire level is connected by one long grind, which can be seen very easily when you go for the skate letters. The table grinds were easy, as well as the skate letters in the tape. Where the issue started was the high score. If I'm being honest with myself, I f***ing suck ass at this game. It was genuinely difficult for me to get past 25,000 points. But after about a half hour of struggling, I did manage to hit it. Really, all around, it's a pretty nice level. Nothing that's gonna make you whip out your cock and start immediately, but it's solid. Ow! Ow! Oh, God. The mall. Listen, I'm not here to shit on this game. With that being said, mall sucks. It's not designed horribly, but it feels far too linear. Plus, the draw distance is a little shitty. I guess this could possibly just be my emulator, but I also noticed a lot of stuttering, especially when going through glass. This level's just kind of bland in my opinion, and without manuals, there's just too much grinding over and over again to be fun. This is also where the lack of a balance meter really got to me. I can't f***ing grind for more than 3 seconds without immediately eating shit. I'm skipping the pro score for now, but maybe I'll come back to it. Really just not much of a level, and it's pretty forgettable in my opinion. Chicago. Chicago is a competition level. It's a pretty standard skate park area, and you need to get the best score possible without failing as much as possible. I just did one go and got second place and decided to move on. Downtown. I love downtown. Hitting the no skating signs and just going through the streets in a lively setting feels like the street skating aesthetic that this game was going for. The way the cars absolutely floor you as well is so funny. It's designed really well as a loop, but it also feels explorable in a way that Mall obviously doesn't have and School doesn't fully capture. It took me a few attempts to get the hidden tape on the rooftop, but man, when I did get it, I felt great. The fact that there's some challenge to get the skate letters also makes it feel much more rewarding. The little offshoots like the way you get to the roof is also just nice to have. Ramps all over the place to trick off of. God, it's just so fucking fun. I didn't manage to get the pro score, but we'll see if I end up going back later. Downhill Jam. Downhill Jam is an absolutely classic stage in Tony Hawk history. There's even a full game named after it. This is exactly what Maul was going for and what it should have been. It feels like you go at Mach 10 while zooming down the map. It's nothing absolutely groundbreaking, but man, it is fun. The little side places that you can use to go down are awesome. The hidden tape is challenging, the E for skate is challenging, it's just all around a great level. I actually was able to get every tape, and I even got the pro score. Burnside. Burnside is also a pretty classic area. It's similar to Chicago's and it's just a normal skate park area. It's certainly more difficult than Chicago, but not horrible. I managed to get second place after a few tries. I really like the aesthetic of Burnside a lot. San Francisco. San Francisco is very similar to downtown Minneapolis, but it's during daylight and instead of cars driving past, it's trolleys. It also suffers the draw distance issue, but it's not too bad in this one. Destroying the cop cars is fun. Getting all the letters and the tape is a whole building climb before a giant ramp that takes you to f***ing smash the roof of a gazebo. It's very cool. I didn't get the last tape, but that's fine. Roswell. Roswell is the final level of the game, and it's a competition. No, it isn't the most amazing and impressive place of all time, but it's definitely cool. I like the fact that it's a fictional area and it has to do with aliens. It feels like a secret stage even though it isn't. Also, I'm from New Mexico, so it's pretty cool to see it in a game like this. I got second place first try, a little anticlimactic. So, that's it. The game isn't bad. It's still pretty fun to this day. However, it doesn't make any sense why you would play this game now when there's the remake, but there's also Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2, which includes the manual, which makes the game better in virtually every way. I think I'm just gonna give this game a 4 out of 10. It just doesn't hold up super well in comparison to the other Tony Hawk games. Before I completely end this video, I want to also talk about the Game Boy version of this game. I haven't really seen any people talk about it, and I've always been interested in ports of games on handheld since most of them always turn out to be completely different games. This game is no exception to that rule. I'm just going to structure this segment by talking about all 3 of the different game modes. Let's start with the first one, Half-Pipe mode. So Half-Pipe mode is the very simple pick up and play arcadey part of the game. Essentially, all you do is go side to side in a half-pipe attempting to do tricks while you're in the air to get a high score. At first, I was pretty f***ing dog, but after a while, I got better. It has 3 different stages, which are from the original game, Burnside, Chicago, and Minneapolis. It doesn't quite make sense because why did they choose 2 of the tournament locations and then Minneapolis when they could have chosen Roswell, which could have been really cool. All the stages are really the same exact thing aside from looks. Burnside is just a default looking skate ramp, Chicago is the inside of a place and looks pretty cool, and Minneapolis has a giant f***ing wall on one side that's honestly a little disorienting and distracting, and it has the f***ing Twin Towers in the background. Really, the mode as a whole is simple, but it's fun enough, just tricking and gaining momentum and stringing tricks together to get good combos. Tournament mode. Tournament mode is really the actual game part of the game. The actual gameplay consists of speeding through a linear area with a whole bunch of things to grind on as well as ramps, and you race 3 other skaters while doing it. There's little speed boosts around that you can pick up and then activate, then there's little point bonuses in the form of tapes that you can pick up on the ground. Honestly, it's a pretty fun mode. The first map, Street, is pretty much just a street that you run through. The second one is Park, which is also pretty simple and similar to the first one. Downtown takes place at night and is a little different, but largely the same. The fourth is Harbor, and honestly, I really don't like it. It's just so easy to run into everything and anything you see. Plus, sometimes the other skaters hit me off my board, killing all of my damn acceleration, like come on. The last level is just a skate park with a whole bunch of ramps around. Speaking of the ramps allow you to perform tricks when you go off of them, and I only figured out the Stalefish in Indy. When you perform these tricks, the actual game pauses for a second to show you the trick performed on the entire screen, which completely just takes you out of the game for a second before throwing you back in. It's a little jarring and makes me want to not do the tricks at all, especially because they're only worth 3 points. Where this game mode shines is when you go and grind on rails constantly and go between rails and chain them together to get a lot of points. It's fun because you have to aim yourself a specific way and time your jumps correctly as you move through the level, and when you start going really fast, it's a good challenge and it's satisfying to pull off. I actually enjoyed the tournament mode quite a bit in general, and I can imagine when I was a kid I would have gotten a lot of enjoyment out of it on car rides. The last game mode is just a one-on-one race, so it's the previous mode just without points, and all you have to do is race to the end of the level against an NPC. I really don't see much of a reason to do this mode since the tournament mode also includes tricks, which makes the game much more interesting. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater on the Game Boy Color is honestly pretty solid. It isn't going to blow your mind by any means, but it's a pretty fun and mindless experience that can be satisfying at times. To be honest, I kinda prefer it over the original, since in the original I was constantly thinking about how I could just be playing Pro Skater 2 instead. Also, this game gets bonus points for having a really good soundtrack. For Game Boy standards, it sounds really good. I'm going to give this game a 5 out of 10. Also, for those of you looking forward to Armageddon and the Warriors, those are still coming. I just need a quick game in between those videos so I don't keep starving you guys for so long on new content. Thank you for watching, and if you want to see more videos from me, then consider subscribing. And if you want videos a day early and fully uncensored, then consider being a member. Speaking of becoming a member, shout out to all of you steel enjoyers out there, those being Hispanic Rice, Dakota Caslow, and Radical265. Thank you guys for the support. I really appreciate everyone's patience in this video coming out. I promise this isn't the one that is the main one that has taken this long. This was more of just a side one that I wanted to get out so that there's not just a giant gap in uploads. Thank you for watching, and have a good day.